The first LM was a minivan. So I was doing my thing, wasting time on the internet like I always do, and I came across a Reddit thread that had a link to a website that kind of documented some historic Mini-Zs. And I haven't actually seen anywhere from Kyosho or anything that has a full list of the Mini-Z bodies, especially not the old ones that are discontinued now. So I had to use the Wayback Machine to open this link. For those of you that don't know, the Wayback Machine is basically a website that people archive the history of the internet. As long as the website was captured by somebody, you'll be able to find it on the Wayback Machine. And this website actually had one capture, so it was captured on the 16th of July 2025, so kind of the middle of the year last year. And I guess the updates to the list stop. You can see some of the most recent Mini-Zs are probably like 2-ish years old. But there's some of them that are actually back in production now, and obviously a lot of them that have been out of production for a long time, and I've never even seen, like I've never seen a photo of them. I've never seen, anyone posting about them. I've never seen them up at the track. So it's kind of cool to go through and look at some of these old Mini-Zs. So it starts out with the RM chassis for 86mm bodies. You can see it has like a little diagram, I guess, of what the chassis looked like. And then it goes in. So the first one right there, you see the 934. They just did that re-release. And then it looks like they have like a red, just a painted 934 without a race livery. And then one of my favorite cars, the 037. Wait, is that the 037? No, the Stratos. The 037 is different. But the Stratos, I guess they had a couple colorways of that. That's super cool. And then you can see another Porsche race car that I'm not very familiar with, and a slant nose. Slant nose is awesome. Moving on to 90mm bodies. So let's see, Subaru, I think that's still available. I believe I saw one recently at my hobby town, at my local hobby town. But one that I thought was really cool was the Lamborghini Countach. I really like the blue with the gold wheels. And then Suzuki's S2000, which is, it says Wild Speed X. So I'm almost wondering if that came with an X-Speed motor, like the Black Bell motor, or maybe it was an Evo, I don't know. And then let's see, that GTR, I actually have the 2000 GTR in the red colorway. So I'm not certain, that doesn't look exactly like mine. So I think that either might be an older version, or it could be the new one, or it could be an old version that used to be a thing, because all the cars around it are old. And then we've got some sweet cars. We have a Ferrari. And then we have some really cool cars. We got a Ferrari F40, super cool. The Porsche GT1 race car. Man, poverty spec Countach it looks like. And then, yeah, quite a few rally cars moving down this area. See, like that Celica, you can buy that now. And then that Fair Lady, you can buy that now as well. I don't know if they're still produced, or if maybe Area just has a few that haven't sold. But yeah, the Evos are sweet. I don't see any Mitsubishi stuff. I haven't seen anything Mitsubishi in person. Then we have the Miata, I've seen those. But the F355, and then we have the Dino and the 512. So Ferraris are something that you don't see rarely ever. I don't think I've ever actually seen a Ferrari Mini-Z in person, and I've heard they're probably not coming back just due to licensing. And I've heard, across everything, like from movies to video games, that Ferrari can be really difficult to work with when it comes to licensing. So unfortunately, I don't think we'll see any of those soon, but at least we have this super sick Viper GTSR, which is a Viper race car. It's like the original Viper, the Gen 2, I believe. And then we have the A86 and the initial D version. I know those are definitely still around. And then we have this RX-7 FD3S. So I don't know if they actually made like a regular Mini-Z with that body, but I ended up buying the egg version. Yeah, that thing's a hoot. Man, another heater with that 250 GTO Ferrari. That's just absolutely sick. And then it looks like some Silvias. Man, the Falcon livery, that's awesome. The E86 there. And then see, now these cars are some that they just went out of production. The silver and red GT3 RSs. And then even that Subaru, I believe you can still buy it in a black colorway. So that's about as recent as the site gets. I think that's probably around 2 years ago. I think, I might be wrong, that it was last updated. And then, okay, so now we're moving on. 94 RM chassis, 94 millimeter bodies. Starting off with an absolute banger, the Chrysler PT Cruiser. I can't believe. I would love to see somebody run that one in a race. Man, Testarossa F50. This one's a little bit near and dear to my heart, the C5R, because I have a C5 and I love Corvettes. Man, 575, I love that one. 430, first Ferrari I ever got to ride in. Sweet car. Such a bummer they don't have the Ferrari license anymore. But then we have a couple really interesting ones. A Chevy Caprice. We have a CHP model and then a taxi, which is cool. A couple race car Ferraris, like the looks like the challenge cars. Then the Lamborghini Iota, which is sick. That's so cool. Some 370Z race cars. There's a lot of Japanese cars on here. So Lotus Europa, I think that might be the only Lotus on this whole thing. But it's pretty cool. And then they have like so they have the Lotus Europa and then the Lotus Europa Circuit Wolf, which they have the same thing for the Lamborghini Iota. I guess like they would have a street version and then a track version of the cars. That's pretty cool, I think, to get like a street model and a race car. It's kind of fun having some that are just street cars, in my opinion. And then moving on, Mark IV Supra race cars and a couple different liveries. Seems like they also had like more livery options per car back in the day. Oh, okay. Yeah, that one hits hard. The Brian's GTR. It also says Wild Speed X, so I wonder, really curious if, it's two-wheel drive. Yeah, that's funny because it's all-wheel drive. It's known for being the all-wheel drive launch beast Godzilla. But yeah, I loved that car when I was a kid. I wanted a Skyline so bad until I figured out that they're basically unobtainable, at least the R34s in the US. And then a couple, looks like R32 race cars. I really like this one. We have the that NSX race car, green with the gold wheels, kind of the same color combo as my daily driver. Super cool. The blue R34, kind of like the one that was in the fourth Fast and Furious. Four Fast, Four Furious. All right, and here we have a couple of Audis. So that's the Volkswagen group. That's really interesting because I guess one thing I'm looking for is, and then these Mitsubishis. So we don't really see, as much variation of brands, I think, these days. So obviously they worked with the Volkswagen group, and then Mitsubishi is on its own. A Ferrari, a couple more Ferrari race cars, Mitsubishis. Renault Megane. So the Renault and Nissan used to, at least at one point, were connected. I'm not sure if they still are, but they used to be part of the same group as far as ownership. Here we have the first GTR, and then now some Mercedes start cropping up, so some DTM cars. Looks like some more. We have the Tochigi Police Highway Patrol NSX. That's pretty cool. The police cars are kind of fun. Could you imagine a club race with like a police car trying to spin everybody out or something? Some more Nissans, 180SX, R33 GTR, which was an all-wheel drive car, which is cool because that's accurate. Now we're moving on to the chassis, the 98mm bodies, and kind of the it car for racing, I guess, if you will. So we have a couple four-doors, some modern Subarus. I believe those are like 2015 era. And then some absolute heaters here. We have the Enzo Ferrari, the FXX, LaFerrari, and then the 599XXs. So if you don't know, the XX program from Ferrari was basically a way to get around the testing restrictions in Formula One. So the Enzo FXX, and then the 599XX, and even the modern FXXK, all of those cars were basically created to test aerodynamic principles without the car being the actual Formula One car. So they could test it outside of the testing restrictions. So basically it was an interesting program. You would buy the car from Ferrari, the 599XX for example. I buy a 599XX, but I can't take it home So I bought this car, but it's still at Ferrari. And then a few times a year, they'll organize a track day, and I would come out and drive it. They would invite me, give me the opportunity to drive my car. It's so interesting, but I guess true fans of the brand bought into it, and I can't imagine how much fun that would be. But basically, they were just testing the data off of those cars and kind of like different wing configurations and experiments that they tried. And we have some more Lamborghinis here. Some Murcielago Diablo, the Murcielago SV. Oh, the Ford GT, that's sweet. Mustang as well, wow. That would be cool. M3 GTR for the Need for Speed fans. A Chrysler 300. And the Mercedes McLaren SLR. That's a sick car. And then we have some McLaren F1 GTR variants. Okay, and then now we're kind of up to where some of the cars that are even available today are. So the 12C GT3, the green one's pretty sweet. And the Aston DB9s are cool. That's really cool. That's not available today. But now, so the Lexus, obviously there's that modern or recent re-release of the Lexus. Vider HSV10. I actually don't know what that is. Let's Google that. Successor to the first generation NSX GT. Interesting. So it's some kind of GT3 car that I guess they drew a lot of inspiration for the NSX platform off of. That's pretty cool. Yeah, see, I feel like they used to have a lot of really niche, cool cars. Audi R8 LMS, I know we have that today. P1 GTR, ooh, this one hits. Corvette ZR1. I'm not a big fan of the ZR1 on the C7 generation. I feel like it's kind of an overhyped car, but the C7 generation I do love, because that's what my daily driver is. I drive a C7. But the ZR1, it's just not worth it. It's like $250,000 for a car whose performance can be achieved for $80K. Anyways, side rant. It is cool they made a C7 though. I actually have one. I was gifted it by Mark Santa Maria, the legend himself. So that's cool. And then now we're moving on 102 millimeter bodies. So this is the LM class. And we're starting off with a couple non-LMs. I don't know if these are in chronological order, but if they are, that's telling me that the first 102 millimeter car from Kyosho was the Honda Mugen Odyssey. So the first LM was a minivan. Wow. And then this is super cool. We have some NASCARs. So Kevin Harvick's 2006 car and Carl Edwards' 2006 car. I don't know how they came up with picking those two drivers, but the fact that there were some Kyosho Mini Z NASCARs is super sweet, and it would be really cool to see some new ones. And then, of course, the rest of them are all just LM cars. So the Porsche 962, which they currently sell with the yellow one. And then, let's see, 962. Oh, and then the 787 for both liveries. I think the green and orange is the most iconic. But man, that baby blue on the 962 was sick. And then, yeah, Sauber C9. And then the Toyota GT1. So obviously you can tell that this one is missing a few cars. It ends at the Toyota GT1, so it doesn't have obviously the new Jag that just came out. I just got one of those, so I'm excited to try it. It's my first LM. 106 millimeter bodies. What is? But they're both minivans. That's crazy. And then there's the HM high motor chassis. And this is pretty much all like hatchbacks. That's crazy. The Volkswagen Beetle, I don't know, Toyota Viz. I don't think that was in America. At least, I don't know if the Mini Z was in America, but the Toyota Viz was definitely never sold in America. But Honda Fit. That's crazy. But the Mini Coopers are pretty cool. I really wanted a Mini Cooper in high school. And the 500 Assetto Corsa is pretty sweet. And then, let's see what's next. High motor 94 millimeter chassis. So Golf GTI, it's a classic. Sweet. Well, cool. So that's all the chassis and cars and bodies that they have on this website. I kind of wish it was kept up with, because I think it would be cool to be able to see every Mini Z ever made. But I'm gonna go over my top 10 favorite real quick. So first, this is kind of going in chronological order of what I showed you, so I'll go over this super quick. First, as far as my favorites go, is the Porsche Slant Nose. I think the Slant Nose is absolutely sick. It's kind of like, it brings like the 90s vibe to the 911. And then second, I had the Ferrari F40. You can't beat that thing, man. The F40 is just iconic. It's one of the cars that, when you say the word Ferrari, the F40 is one of the cars that pops to mind for me. And then next I had the Countach, because again, it's like another absolute spaceship. It's like 80s design to the max. And again, when you say Lamborghini, that's one of the cars I think of. You know, you think of the Wolf of Wall Street. It's just so iconic. Then I have the GT3 RS. I know that one actually just kind of went out of sale, and unfortunately I missed out on it. So my narrow car, I ended up with the RX-7 Savannah, but I definitely would have snagged a GT3 RS if that was available at the time when I bought my narrow car. For the fifth car on my list, I have the C5R. The C5 will always have a special place in my heart. That was my first sports car, and kind of the first car I owned as an adult, so the car itself is special to me, and the C5R was an absolute beast of a machine. Next I have the R34 GTR with the Fast and Furious edition. Too Fast, Too Furious somehow ended up being the first Fast and Furious movie I saw, and that GTR just hit different. Like, I mean, it was only in the beginning of the movie, but for some reason that car just spoke to me. I don't know why. I just love that car. I wanted a GTR so bad when I was in high school, and I didn't realize how completely unobtainable a real R34 is in America. And then, next I had the Mini Cooper. So the Mini Cooper, again, I wanted that in high school. I mentioned that before. They're just super fun, and I like the idea of having less serious cars. Like the Mini Cooper, it's a great car. I've gotten to drive a couple of them, but it's just, you know, it's just a fun car. It's not like a race car. It's not a GT3 car. It's not like a super serious top tier supercar. I enjoy the fact that they had Mini Zs that were just kind of fun cars that really anyone could afford. And then of course next up I have the NASCAR, because that's so cool. I wish if I ever come across a NASCAR Mini Z for sale, I'm 100% gonna snag that thing, because that's just, man, that's cool. And then I have the baby blue Porsche 962. Again, I think it's super sweet. And then for the last car on my top 10 list, I think it's maybe a little bit of a cop-out because it's the car that I have, but I have this C7 ZR1 body. Again, I actually have one of these, and the C7 is my daily driver, and I think, in my opinion, the best one-car solution car out there on the market, unless you need to take people with you. Obviously, you can't fit a lot of people in it, but you can fit a lot of stuff in it. It gets pretty solid miles to the gallon, and it's just super fun to drive. But that would be my top 10. I don't think that I would change that if you even included the modern bodies that are available. Maybe I would have to sneak the C8 in there, the C8 GT3 car. But now I'm just looking over the bottom of this website. It's talking about popular racing bodies. So it says the Audi R8 LMS. Now I know that's still popular even today. And then we have the Enzo for modified class, mainly because of the +3 offset and the stability you get from that. So if you're going faster, it's of course gonna be if you're going faster with the mod car, of course the +3 offset's gonna help with stability. And then for stock class, it says McLaren, popular because of its lightweight. I guess that makes a lot of sense. If that body, just the construction of it happened to be lighter. And then we have Lamborghini Murcielago. So they're saying, like the Enzo, it has the wide rear width, but then the smooth body lets it bounce off walls. So the Lamborghini, I don't know how old the Joe Morema body is, but that's why the Joe Morema body and now the C9 bodies are popular, is because they bounce off the walls. A lot of these basically every modern wide Mini Z is a GT3 car, which is cool because they're all race cars, but they all have huge front splitters which snag on the wall and basically turns like a minor mistake or a minor clip of the inside of a corner into like a full spin. So it basically ruins your lap. So something that would cost you a couple tenths on a body that doesn't have a splitter costs like a whole, basically just ruins your lap if you have a splitter. So I could totally see why if the Lamborghini Murcielago was able to bounce off the walls, I could see why that would be popular. Then the next car on the list, they have the SC430, which again, my buddy just bought one and it has a pretty notable front splitter. They're saying the aerodynamics on the car are noticeably different, but again, they say that once you hit if you even snag a wall, but again, they're saying if you snag the wall, the car comes to a stop. So that's just like a huge pain. It really punishes aggressive driving and any kind of mistakes. So I see that as like a detriment. If you're racing, you want something that's going to give you a little bit of forgiveness, because in racing, a single fastest lap isn't worth as much as race pace. A single fast lap isn't worth as much as your pace over the course of the race. Apparently the Ferrari 360. Oh, okay, wow. So there was a lot more variation in the wheelbase back then. So the Ferrari 360 was a little shorter at 94 millimeters, and that gave it better maneuverability. They're saying not as stable if you're doing modified with that class. Interesting. So they're talking about the NSX being very popular in Asian countries, and the overhang, so how much the body extends past the front wheels, slows down the response, which actually makes it more forgiving to drive. It's really cool just to see other possible bodies. Ferrari Testarossa is forgiving. So yeah, it says with the current production run, sometimes bodies can be hard to come by. Several popular bodies are only available for a month or two. It's long been my theory that Kyosho produces stuff in a way that they don't ever have overstock, and I think they intentionally kind of create this demand. I think it's smart business because it's always better to be out of stock than to have too much stuff sitting around and have to discount it. So it's interesting to see that's always kind of been a thing with the Mini Zs. But thank you guys for checking this out with me. It's been super cool to explore what Mini Z racing used to look like. I'm curious to see, I want to see, do any of you guys have pictures? Was anyone running back in the day? Was there a class full of Fiat 500s? What did this look like back in the day? And were people actually running these Kyosho auto scale bodies, or were people running other bodies? How long has the German been out? Were people running Joe Moramas back in the day, or were there other third-party bodies that people were running other than Mini Z, true Kyosho bodies? I'm curious to know more about the history of Mini Z racing, so this might be something I dive into again in the future, but thanks for checking this out with me, guys. And if you made it to the end of the video, subscribe to the Mini Z Racers. And if you made it to the end of the video, subscribe to the Mini Racers for all things Mini Z racing.